Like we've got all the sports hitting quite hard, especially. So I just want to bring up like especially current sports that's going on. So today we got a big event regarding UFC, which is obviously MMA, which is a sport that I like. There's a big event going on in Abu Dhabi today, UFC 251. And it's going to be headlined by two very major fighters. Like it's the current welterweight champion, who's going up against, I think, the ranked second best fighter in the division. So that's going to be amazing. That's happening at 3 a.m. tonight. So it's going to be a long night. But you obviously got some news regarding cricket. So obviously that's not really my...
expertise.
It's not,
England are playing West Indies at the moment. It is currently day 4 of the test match out of 5. First day was rained off. And the big news was Stuart Broad, probably England's best bowler the last 10 years, 15 years, was left out for Jofra Archer, who, if you remember, won England the World Cup. I don't think you remember.
I do know about him, though. Like, he's the really tall one, isn't he?
Yeah, tall one.
Yeah.
And he has been bowling very well. England got bowled out for 200, which is quite poor. And when Archer did bowl, 22 overs, no wickets.
Wow.
And I reckon Broad in his conditions probably would have got a few wickets. And at the moment, England are doing better in the second innings, but it's looking a bit... They're struggling a bit. But
so is that the only cricket match that's actually going on right now?
Happening,
okay. So obviously, like, we can tell, like, from them kind of sports, there's not a lot going on compared to football.
Football's just playing everywhere.
It's literally like all over Europe here. Like, we see the league happening. We see, like, teams are hitting form. Like, obviously, the Premier League, we know there's only 4 games left. Obviously, the champions are now Liverpool, which was determined 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm happy about that, of course, obviously being my team. But I guess the main thing that's like everybody's kind of like intangible about regarding the Prem is top 4. Obviously, because right now, like you got Chelsea who are third right now on 60 points. Leicester are on 59 points and Man United are on 58. So it's literally a war between them 3 teams of who's going to be getting that final Champions League spot.
So United's form...
Especially, like they haven't lost a game since the return of lockdown, haven't they?
They haven't.
And like pretty much all their attackers have been on form. And Bruno Fernandes has now won. Like I'm pretty sure yesterday he got awarded the Premier League Player of the Month again for the second month in a row. And that doesn't happen quite a lot. So they're on form. With Leicester, I know that Jamie Vardy, obviously, he's still top goal scorer, even though he went on a goal drought. I think he's still 3 goals above everybody, or 2. I think he's 2 above Aubameyang and 3 above Ings and Salah.
Okay.
So he's still like
He's
in that,
there.
yeah. So he's still up there, and obviously Chelsea, they're not really like in the spotlight. Yeah, they're not in the spotlight as Leicester and Man United are. But I feel like it's because Chelsea don't have that one player that's kind of doing everything, like that's kind of taking their team like to that level.
They're inconsistent as well.
They are.
So
like, they're very inconsistent.
That's what makes it really interesting.
It is, because like, who do you think will get there?
I think it will be Leicester and United. Actually, no.
You think Chelsea?
Chelsea.
So you think Leicester will drop out?
I think Leicester will, because, as you know, or you might not know, last game of the season is United against Leicester.
So that is going to be like,
I think that will be.
That's almost like a title. Yeah, like that's like a final for them too.
So whoever wins that, basically
it is honestly
the last Champions League spot, I reckon.
Well, Chelsea they've got Sheffield to play today. Like at the moment, like currently as we speak, the games that are going on right now is Norwich are facing West Ham, and West Ham have just now actually made it 4-0. Like at half time, it was Mikel Antonio scored all 4 goals. I know.
Okay.
But Antonio has scored all 4 goals. That is unbelievable. That is. Like that's not. Like it's not often you get to see one player, especially a West Ham player. And West Ham haven't been great this season.
They haven't.
Like they've not been good at all. And but they're winning 4-0 against Norwich, and Norwich are most likely going to get relegated again.
Yeah, I think they're 10 points off.
Like I can't see them surviving. And then the other game that's going on is Watford versus Newcastle, and that's currently 1-1. Like they're coming to the last 15 minutes of the game as well for both teams. Obviously, like Norwich is out, but like Watford and Newcastle, like this is at Watford's ground as well.
Watford's big game for Watford as well. Because they're fighting for relegation.
Exactly. So they kind of so it's a must-win game for them. Then later on, Liverpool are facing Burnley. But as we were talking about the top four, Sheffield and Chelsea, and that's at Sheffield's home. And Sheffield, since being back from the break, they haven't been great compared to how they were up until before, like back in from August to January.
They lost their momentum.
Exactly, yeah. Like they were playing very good defensive football, but obviously, like, to be honest, I think that game will be a draw tonight. It's 5:30 kickoff. Yeah, like Sheffield versus Chelsea at Sheffield's ground. I don't know why. Like, I'm just not, because they faced Crystal Palace away last week and they scraped a win. It was 3-2. They beat Palace, and Palace are poor this season. I mean, yeah, Palace isn't an easy place to go to, but they haven't got the fans to back them. So it's one of them. So I think that Sheffield and Chelsea, I reckon that would be a draw. What about you?
It's at Sheffield's home, isn't it?
Yeah.
It might be a draw or Chelsea going to nick it, I reckon.
Because for Chelsea and Man United and Leicester, all three of them, they are must-win games.
They are. Because Sheffield are going for the Europa League spot now, aren't they?
Yeah, like they are must-win games. Yeah, like they're
Wolves.
not. Yeah, like they can't afford to lose, because anyhow one of them slips up, then the other one is just going to be ruthless and make sure that they win. And then obviously Man United have Southampton on Monday. Yeah, which is probably a must-win game. But probably the biggest game of this weekend is probably the North London derby tomorrow. Now, we know both teams are pretty poor this season. Like, I think Arsenal are 8th or 7th.
8th.
Yeah, like they're 8th. Yeah, let's just check the table. Arsenal are 8th and Spurs are 7th. 9th, sorry. Yeah, like they're a point behind each. Yeah, Arsenal are a point ahead of them. They're both really poor sides this season. And obviously, it is at Tottenham's ground. We know how Mourinho always does against Arsenal. He does have a very good record against them. But again, it's Mourinho hasn't faced Arteta as a manager. Arteta is a very inexperienced manager compared to to Jose Mourinho, who is he is a legend. Yeah, like of the footballing. Yeah, like in football, he's a legend, especially in of every single manager. Probably in history, he's easily in the top 3. So them against Arsenal, I mean, you're talking about squad comparisons, especially with the North London derby. It is probably the biggest derby in England. Yeah. Like it easily is. Yeah, like when it comes to just the whole rivalry, just the amount that the fans hate each other. So that is going to be a big game for both clubs. Like, even though they're not playing for anything, like unless Arsenal can manage to get 7th and potentially go for a Europa League spot.
If they win this game, I reckon they're up there.
They could, but because they will be above Sheffield by then. Yeah, depending on if Sheffield do good against Chelsea today. But I guess no team, nobody ever wants to lose to their rivals.
Of course not.
Yeah,
that's
so
form goes out the window.
Exactly. Yeah, like form always goes out the window with this. But if you actually look at squad comparisons, Tottenham do have the better players, but they just don't play good football under Mourinho.
I don't think Mourinho's he's got the right system for the players.
He hasn't.
Like he's chopping.
But do you think he deserves a chance to actually get a window in and then see how he does?
At least a season.
Because we're talking about a manager who, in his last season for Manchester United, he didn't do well.
No.
He finished outside top 4, and then he got sacked halfway through. His last season for Chelsea, he got sacked, and Chelsea were, I think, 13th or something like that.
2 points off relegation.
Exactly. Yeah, like they were close to they were closer to relegation than they were a European spot, and then he got sacked halfway through there too. So is it a thing where getting in Mourinho was a panic? Or was it like one of them where they actually trust that he can bring them a trophy? Because I think every every Tottenham Hotspur fan, they want to see their team win a trophy. They haven't won a trophy in over 10 years. And that trophy was a Capital One Cup.
They haven't got no major.
They've not had a major trophy since probably when I was a child. So, I think why they brought in Mourinho, because they know that he's a winner when it comes to trophies. Like, he will, it doesn't matter if he's playing the Capital One Cup, the Community Shield, he'll play Harry Kane for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
He will play his best squad in any given game.
And he'll get results.
He will get results. So, he is a results-based manager, regardless of his, of his style of football. People say his style of football is a bit, boring. It's very negative football. But he knows how to get results. Who do you think will win out of that game? Because Arsenal, even though since their first 2 losses against Brighton and Man City, especially the Brighton one, which was very dejecting for Arsenal because they were winning in the game and then they conceded I think it was last minute.
Goalkeeper got injured.
He got injured, especially being as good. Like, he's probably been one of their best players. But since that Martinez has come in,
He's actually
been fantastic for Arsenal.
I think because the last time he played, I don't think he was very good. So
Nah,
all the
he
fans were
wasn't.
spectacle, like, oh, he might not do that good.
He
but
won't.
he's actually
Exactly.
done really well.
Considering Arsenal's weakest area of their team is their defence. But he's actually been very good for them as a shot
He's
stopper.
kept clean sheets as well.
He has. And as a distributor, he's been very good too. Especially against in the Leicester game. I think Arsenal probably did deserve to nick it. Yeah, like, they should have buried the game within the
They
first half.
conceded in the last few minutes as well, didn't they?
They did, yeah. Like, Jamie Vardy scored. And they should have scored in the first half. I think they should have scored at least 3 or 4 goals, which was the problem. Against a team like Spurs, being your biggest rivals, especially in a Mourinho squad, regardless of how poor they're doing, like you said earlier, form goes out the window when it comes to derbies. Like, we faced Man United earlier in the season when Man United were doing dreadful. We got a draw.
Just about as well.
Yeah, at Old Trafford. Yeah, like, we got a draw against them. So form goes out the window when you're facing rivals. So I think Arsenal will probably nick it, I do.
I think as well.
I think it will be 2-1 Arsenal.
I'm leaning more towards a draw, but if Arsenal are to win, I think it'll be like a late winner.
Because I can't see Spurs winning this game because against who did they face last? It was Brighton, wasn't it?
They lost their last game as well, didn't they? No, they drew against Bournemouth.
They drew against Bournemouth, sorry, but they didn't even have a shot on target.
And Bournemouth are very poor as
And
well.
Bournemouth are dreadful. Like this season, they are very poor. It's not like Bournemouth where like they have that, because obviously I heard about Bournemouth Stadium. Their fans are very close to the pitch.
Okay.
So because obviously I think Bournemouth Stadium capacity is under 20,000.
It's the smallest
They've got
in the
a
Premier
very
League.
they've got a
Smaller
very
than the
small
Premier League.
stadium. Yeah, like even for championship level, that's small. And just okay, somebody just messaged in saying that Watford have just scored.
Okay.
Troy Deeney just got given a penalty. Yeah, like he just scored a penalty. So that's 2-1 now.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's a big
Troy
deal.
Deeney scored 2 penalties this game.
Oh, they win 3-1 then?
Yeah, no, 2-1.
They win 2-1?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So he scored both the goals of both pens, and it's now the 82nd minute.
I'm probably going to win that now as well. And they were
Apparently,
only 3 points off
Ismaili
Bournemouth.
Sarr got the foul. Like, he won the penalty for them.
Okay. They're only 3 points off Bournemouth as well, so win this game. 5 points clear.
From relegation.
Yeah. 5 points clear of relegation. And Bournemouth next have got Leicester.
Oof. See, that's the power. Yeah, that's the beauty of the Premier League. That you never ever think a game between Watford and Bournemouth, or Watford and any kind of bottom. I mean, not Watford, sorry, Leicester and Bournemouth is a must-win game. But it is a must-win game for both teams, because if Watford lose, their top 4 chances are pretty much out the window.
Oh, Leicester, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like if they lose and their top 4 chances are out the window, and if Bournemouth lose,
then they're probably going to get relegated.
they're probably going to get relegated. So it is a must-win game for both teams. Like, but with the North, so back to the North London derby, obviously, because that is probably the biggest game of the weekend. I feel like Tottenham, their style of play now is kind of non-existent. Like, if you actually look at some of the fans that are talking about it, they're saying that our whole style of play is being played by it's being played through Serge Aurier, the right back.
He's probably the worst player.
Exactly, he's one of the worst players in the team. Yeah, and obviously, like, VAR's been really controversial the last few weeks. Like, Manchester United have been given, I'm pretty sure they've almost been awarded a pen every single game.
Yeah.
Which I know the last game where they played, that wasn't a penalty. Regardless of what Man United fans are watching, that are listening, whatever, that was not a penalty on Bruno Fernandes. As good as he is, that was never a penalty. Never a penalty. But VAR, it does get it wrong
I
a
think
lot
the
of time.
rule for handballs is a bit too strict.
I think it is.
Because...
What is the rule? Like, is it where your hand is, like, even if your hand is not...
I think it's above your waist.
So if your hand is there, so let's say it's there.
So if it's next to your body, I think it's okay. But if it's not in a natural position, then I think it's given... Because you might not know, but in Syria, they had this rule last year as well. And there was massive complaints. 'Cause I think in the first match today, there were about 8 penalties in all the fixtures. Something like... There was a lot of penalties. So there's a massive complaint about it. That's when it started bringing to other leagues. I think they've toned it down a bit, but I think the rule's a bit stupid. You can't give a handball for like, you know, the ball hitting your face and you cover it as a reaction. Stuff like that.
I get that. I mean, obviously, I think a good example of that, yeah, like, so would you say, like, obviously, like, I'm going back to last season now, yeah, like last year, sorry, when we faced Spurs in the Champions League final, and within the first minute we got given a penalty because when Mane kicked it, Moussa Sissoko's hand was here, like it was like there, like it was this high. So would you think that's a fair like penalty given, or do you think that?
I think that's fair because his hand is out, so it is stopping the ball from.
So what about, for example, last year as well, Kimpembe against Manchester United?
No.
When the ball, I think it was Dalot who just blasted the ball for the sake of it.
It wasn't going nowhere.
And Kimpembe jumped in it, and his hand was still here.
It was up here, wasn't it?
No, his hand was still down.
But it wasn't like in the. It wasn't outside his body.
No. Like his hand wasn't here, or like it wasn't anywhere in the air.
It was like near
like it was by his legs. His hand was.
It was near his head. So as a reaction, if I was to throw a ball at you, you're gonna cover your face.
It's true.
So I think it's just a reaction like that, and piss you.
But in and around the box, like, do you think the ruling's fair? Because obviously, like if somebody does that, like let's say I shoot now and you're like a defender, and I shoot towards goal. And it has obviously it's a 50-50 chance of it going in. Yeah, because the keeper as well. But if your hand is there and it hits your hand, don't you think that's kind of a penalty because it is an obstruction technically?
If it's next to your arm, or like If your arm's near your body, I don't think it should be given as a penalty.
No, I don't think it is.
But like if it's out, possibly stopping like a ball in the box or a shot.
But I feel like like with the Spurs game last, Harry Kane when he got fouled, that was a penalty. Like when I watched it over, like it was their last game.
Okay.
Yeah, like it was a penalty at the time. But I feel like, like with the Premier League, the pens are given more to the flary players, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
They're given more to the players that are really good at dribbling.
Most
they're really
good
at
get tackled.
Yeah, like a Mo Salah, who does get penalties for us, and people do call him a diver and stuff like that. People are now calling Bruno Fernandes a bit of a diver because he dived. But at the end of the day, like, they're really light on their feet, so they are going to drop. When Harry Kane drops, people are going to be like, is it forced?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's one of them, because Harry Kane has had that, like, before when he was like in his he did used to be considered a diver as well. So I do feel like VAR do get it wrong a lot more than they, because obviously like it's video, like it's there.
Yeah.
But the decision still goes down to the referee. Like it's still their choice, of what, okay, like you know what, like, after watching the footage,
as well, though, doesn't he?
Exactly. But the thing is, though, like with the Arsenal fans, they complained heavily because when Vardy scored, apparently, I think Ayoze Perez, it hit off him, and he was offside.
He was offside, okay.
But whereas Vardy wasn't offside,
but
because he was running towards it, but it hit Perez before it went to Vardy.
Did it go to VAR?
No.
See, it's like that. I think that's where the problem is.
It didn't even go to VAR.
Where sometimes it works, but the other times, why is it not used then?
Exactly.
But then,
and it does technically, and it does happen a lot.
Like in the Champions League when City got knocked out when they scored the last minute goal,
it got used.
It got used then. When
because it hit
Aguero.
Was it Aguero?
It was Aguero, and Sterling scored.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Arsenal game.
And then they used it.
Now in the Champions League, it gets used a lot more. Maybe because it is
because the referees are a lot more strict there, and obviously European teams, it's that pedigree, don't they?
And it's that like high stage, but like even in little games like this, like even the Brighton game, when what's the name, Mopai, probably should have got sent off. On the foul on Leno. And he ended up scoring the goal in the end.
That was a 50-50 as well. A lot of even a lot of Arsenal fans were saying that, you know what, it wasn't intentional. But the same thing happened a couple of seasons ago when we faced Man City.
When
Mane, like it was a high foot, and yes, it's a red card because obviously, like you shouldn't be doing a high foot like that.
On purpose, though.
No, exactly. Like it wasn't. Like it wasn't intentional. Like he wasn't even looking at Edison. Like a keeper normally doesn't come out that far anyway.
Of course not. Of course.
Yeah. So when Mane did it, he was looking at the ball and he caught Edison. With more pay, he still got a yellow. So I do feel like there's
no consistency.
They are very inconsistent.
They are.
Because I remember when Son, he fouled Andre Gomez for Everton and he broke his leg.
Yeah, and he got sent off.
He got sent off, but then he got overruled because he apologised. Like he felt bad.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that at all. Like me personally, I just didn't get it.
It should be strict and consistent.
Exactly.
If you're going to be
and
strict, to be consistent.
That's the problem with it, though. It is very inconsistent.
Because that's probably going to cost Arsenal a Europa League spot.
Potentially, it can.
The
It can
Brighton
because
game and the Vardy game.
exactly,
against
yeah,
Leicester
like
as well.
and the Leicester game. So that's two games where I mean, at the end of the day, like you can't keep faulting like VAR.
VAR, yeah.
At the end of the day, like if you need VAR, to determine your results, then you're not
playing good enough.
Exactly. I remember at the bit, like halfway through the season, people were calling Liverpool like Liv Varpool, as in VAR.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've only had 2 results go our way thanks to VAR. If you take VAR out of the Prem right now, we're still we're still champions.
Top of the league, yeah.
And Man United are 9th.
Yeah.
Because Man United have been given the most penalties.
Most penalties, yeah.
Yeah, like they have been given way more penalties than anybody.
That stat about Bruno, isn't it? Where he's played 11 games and got like 15 something contributions, and literally all of them been pens.
They have, yeah. Like nobody can deny how he has done very well for them. His passing has been immense, but I feel like his goal contributions are being a little bit like, I feel like, definitely. I feel like they're like a bit overrated at the moment because he is winning a lot of penalties and he's scoring their penalties. When normally their penalty taker is Pogba.
At the start of the season, there was the big debacle about who should take the pen when Rashford missed one, then Pogba missed one, and they didn't know who to take it with.
At the start, at the start of the season, though, Man United were like
shocking.
They
and
were.
I think Bruno has.
He has rejuvenated the squad massively.
So you got to rate Ole for that.
It is a very, very good signing. It just depends, obviously, because I do feel like a lot of Man United fans out there are getting a bit like carried away. Some are very like, you know what? At the end of the day, like the league's done. It's over. We're only playing for top 4. Next season, a lot of them do believe that they got a chance of like challenging us, and I don't believe they have.
I don't think so, because
I don't believe they have.
Martial started to play really well. Rashford's dropped off a bit, but
Martial's like he's a 5-game mood. He is literally a 5-game wonder. He has very good goal contributions for about 5 to 8 games. Then after that he drops off for a good 4 months.
Yeah, he does.
And then he doesn't do anything.
Like the defense have kept like how many clean sheets is it? They've kept clean sheet the last 4 games, I think. Or like they conceded 1 goal in like 5 games.
Nah, they beat Bournemouth 5-2, so I think they've conceded 2. Yeah, like they've won the rest of the games at 3-0 or something.
Yeah, they beat Villa 3-0, Bournemouth 5-2, United 3-0. Brighton 3-0, sorry. And they beat Norwich 2-1, and then Sheffield 3-0 since the break. So
that's a lot, yeah.
They've been in the defence though, but would you say that defence they have is a title-winning defence? I don't think so. With Maguire.
No.
And
that's the thing. Like, if you actually look at their defence, only one, like, I don't rate Harry Maguire at all.
I think he's done better since they've come back, but he's not. He's not that good.
I'm not even going to talk about his price tag. I'm not even going to bring that up because at the end of the day, that's how Man United paid for him. That was their choice. At the end of the day, we all knew he wasn't worth that.
Of course not.
But because they were desperate for a defender, Leicester knew that, you know what?
We can ask for this much.
We can, and they will pay it.
Yep.
But he's just not that good. Like, I don't think he will. Like right now, he's not a world-class defender.
No,
he's not even a class defender, in my opinion. I think he's a bang average centre-back, I do. I think the only good defender that they have is Wan-Bissaka. I think Luke Shaw's picked up this season for them. He has. But he's still not up to that level like he was predicted to be.
He's not made it, as you said. He's not made it.
Yeah, exactly.
He should have.
So, like, I don't believe yet that they have that capability of challenging even Man City, because I know Man City are definitely going to buy players. Because to be 20 points, like over 20 points behind the champions.
With their team as well.
With their squad, knowing Liverpool haven't spent anything.
Lost, how many games they lost? 9 games this season.
They've lost more games than Man United and Arsenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is, especially 2 teams that have been on a decline for the last 5 to 6 years now. You shouldn't be losing more games.
The last 2 seasons.
Exactly, and now you're losing 9 games. And you've made additions to the squad as well. Yeah. They bought in Rodri for, I think, was it 70 million or 60 million?
Something like that.
And they bought in Cancelo for 50 million.
Who they don't play.
Exactly.
They just bought him because he wouldn't go anywhere else.
Like, it's just one of them, isn't it? Yeah, like, where a team like Manchester United, I just don't believe they have the capability to do it. The other games that are happening today is Brighton and Man City are playing at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow, we obviously, like, Wolves are playing Everton at home. That's 12 o'clock kickoff.
Big game for Wolves.
Exactly, yeah,
Big
because
game for
Wolves
Wolves.
do need to start winning now because they didn't play well against Arsenal. They actually did get outplayed.
That's probably Arsenal's best performance.
It was, yeah,
since the
definitely,
comeback.
definitely. Aston Villa are playing Palace. That's probably a must-win game for
Big
Villa
game
as
for
well.
Villa. Yeah.
Spurs, obviously, like we know the North London derby. Bournemouth and Leicester also. I feel like every single game now is almost like it's almost a must-win game for
Very
almost
important,
everyone.
Yeah.
Like except for obviously, like you got your teams that are pretty much safe.
But they're facing teams that are
That
challenging for
aren't
something,
exactly. Yeah, like they're facing teams that are coming towards the end, but we're kind of coming up to the end of the first half. It's gone quite quick, to be honest. But the second half, hopefully, we're going to talk more about European football.
Yeah.
Now that it's back here, so we'll see you all after the break. And we are back. I think just now we heard that Norwich have actually officially been relegated after this loss,
Yeah.
which is kind of, I think we all predicted it because that's what they always do. It is typical,
Norwich.
yeah, it is typical Norwich. But yeah, like
don't
that's the
think
first team to go down now,
The
isn't
team
it?
wasn't good enough, I don't think.
It never is. Every time they come up to the Prem, they are pretty much on the way back down because we all predict it. Like they always go back down. The season they get promoted,
They
they
go
are
back
back
down,
down
yeah.
that same season.
They had a good start, though.
They did.
When,
We just got a question from somebody on WhatsApp that just said, "What do we think about the Champions League predictions?" So obviously, because the draw was yesterday, actually, wasn't it?
it was, yes.
The draw was yesterday, so which a lot of them are looking quite good. The games are, and obviously, all the finals are being played in neutral stadiums for each team
Yeah.
in Portugal. So it's going to be tough games for every single team. It doesn't matter. So obviously, because it being Champions League, it comes under quality now. Yeah, because you don't have that home backing.
Just that one-off game.
It's just that one-off
Performance.
game, yeah, where you need to win. So what do we think about the predictions? Yeah, like who's playing who?
Well, obviously, half the games have been played. Half of them haven't. So, for example, Napoli, my team, they played Barca at the San Paulo.
It was 1-1, yeah.
It was 1-1, yeah.
1-1.
So, all the games that the first leg has been played, they are playing the second leg at
With the aggregate scores how
with
they
the
are.
August as they are, but just without fans
Okay.
at the stadium was meant to be played. So obviously Real Madrid against City at the Bernabeu, which City are winning. No, at Etihad, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, with City.
But is it happening in the actual
Yeah,
stadiums?
it's happening in the stadium.
I thought all the games were being played in Portugal.
Just out of the quarterfinals, semi-final.
Oh, from the quarterfinals. It's
quarterfinals onwards,
okay,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
So
Yeah, so Man City do have the advantage going into that game.
at home as well. So
What's the aggregate score? Is it 2-1
2-1
2?
to City?
2-1.
Yeah,
Wow.
so City got 2 away goals. So
It's
unless
going to be a big mountain to climb for Real Madrid.
unless Real Madrid score like 3 goals,
Yeah, like
And,
unless
yeah.
like I think the only way they could win that is if they win the game 2-0, which
it's hard.
keeping a clean sheet against Man City at Etihad,
It's very very
it's
hard.
not easy, man.
And,
Especially with the form they're on this season. Like
they're playing
it's-
good.
yeah,
Real Madrid have
now.
been playing good as well though.
They have.
So
Yes, they have.
they
yeah.
pulled it back in the.
So it will be a
La Liga.
that would probably be the best game.
The winner of that match will play Napoli or Barca.
Ooh, so there's a potential to see an El Clasico.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Obviously Napoli got a 1-1 draw against Barca. Very disappointing. But Barca have been very poor since
They've
they've
not
come
been,
back.
yeah, that's true. That is
They've
true.
dropped quite a lot of points. Lost against poor teams. Drew at home.
Yeah, they have been,
against
yeah,
a few
yeah.
poor teams.
Yeah, like they're 4 points behind Real Madrid, aren't they, in the
And
league?
Before they started, they were a few points clear as well. So I think they've kind of lost it a bit.
Yeah.
Napoli have been on quite good form. They won the Coppa Italia as well about 2 weeks ago.
Just have to
which
bring
I'm,
that in. Just
Quite
have to
happy
bring that
about.
in.
First trophy in 6 years.
Was that beating
Juventus
Juventus?
in
Wow.
the final on penalties.
Was it a penalty shootout?
Penalties, yeah. Napoli probably should have scored in normal time, but it doesn't always go your way. And I think since Gattuso's come in, I did see a stat they've won 14, drew 2, and only lost 2, and they've lost against like Lazio and Atlanta, top teams.
Who are,
in the league.
yeah, like they're top 4
So
sides, aren't
they've
they?
beaten, yeah, they are. So they've beaten, all the teams they should be and lost against unlucky teams.
Okay.
The other, obviously, still got Lyon versus Juventus, which Lyon are winning 1-0.
Yes, they are.
They did get a 1-0 win at
They are.
home, so they're playing Juventus in Turin, which could be.
That should be a win for Juve, considering Memphis Depay is out for the rest of the season
and
as
Lyon
well.
haven't been playing.
And they haven't been playing because the season's over.
And Juventus have been quite good since
They
lost
have, yeah.
to Napoli. So, and then obviously Chelsea. The winner of that match versus either Chelsea or Bayern, which
Bayern are pretty much through because
Yeah,
Chelsea are
3-0
3-0 down, and
they're
Bayern
playing
beat them at Stamford Bridge
Stamford Bridge,
3-0.
yeah.
So
the one confirmed match is obviously Leipzig versus 1 minute. It's Leipzig versus Atletico Madrid.
that would be a very good game. But
So-
actually, no, it's because Timo Werner's obviously he's gone to Chelsea now. So is he going to be playing that game?
No, I don't think he's playing. So I don't think Leipzig.
I can't see Leipzig winning
haven't
that
got a
game
chance in
without
there.
him. Unless Marcel Sabitzer turns up, I can't see.
Atletico are a really strong team as
They
well.
are,
So
yeah.
I
Like
reckon-
the way Simeone will set them up, I
Very-
can't see them.
very,
yeah,
very hard
yeah.
team
Like I
to
can't
beat.
see them losing.
And then the other one is Atalanta versus PSG.
High scoring. That game's going to be like
That's gonna be-
9-8.
yeah.
That's going to be
a
like
very good game.
that's going to be such a high scoring game. It's crazy because haven't Atalanta got like almost 100 goals this season?
Yeah, they have.
PSG are like on like 80 something. So but PSG,
And I think a one game knockout, I think it suits both of them teams.
the disadvantage that PSG have as well,
They haven't played football,
they haven't played since February.
and that's where fitness comes in.
Exactly, yeah, like it comes under
cetera,
like
cetera.
yeah, like yeah,
And
like
Atlanta have been playing, and they've been actually destroying
Exactly,
teams
so-
in the league. So
it will be hard. I mean, yes, PSG do have the quality, but you also need to be playing to keep to have momentum. And PSG don't have momentum. Yeah, they've been given the league, but they haven't won. Yeah, but they haven't played since Feb. But I reckon this is where we're gonna see.
the PSG,
Yeah, like
see if they.
your Mbappe, Neymar, and these kind of players turn up in this kind of game.
I think if the French football like carried on, I do reckon PSG would probably be favourites.
To win the whole thing.
I think so, because as a one knockout,
Yeah, because isn't it like if, for example, if PSG beat Atlanta, don't the winners of that face?
they face either Atletico or RB Leipzig. So they got.
So when you do deep it,
they got the easier
PSG and
side.
Atletico do have the easier, like on paper we're talking about here. On paper they do have the easier running.
Yeah.
Compared to facing Barcelona, Man City, Juventus, Real Madrid,
Well,
they're
these
your
teams,
big
yeah.
hitters. Yeah, like in this Champions League campaign.
So I do think PSG have a good chance, but because they haven't played football, I do think
And
it's gonna be very,
Atalanta-
very hard for them. And Atalanta, are a very
Even
good
though
team.
they haven't really like been winning like in the Champions League, like
they lost the first 3 games, they've got
exactly,
through.
and they still managed to
Yeah.
get through.
But in the league, they have been playing really well because they play this fearless football. They're trying
They
to
do.
outscore the team,
They do.
and against PSG, it's very possible. With
They
obviously-
do seem like they're doing an Ajax,
yeah,
where they're just like, even though Ajax was far more impressive because Ajax were beating big teams, but like the fact that you'd never ever think a team like Atalanta would ever make it into even a quarter final of
the
the
first
Champions
time
League.
Atalanta and RB Leipzig are in the quarterfinal of a Champions
Isn't it the
League.
first time they've probably even gotten this far?
I don't think. I think RB Leipzig got out the
What about
Group stage.
Atalanta?
first time in the Champions League.
There you go. First
So,
season in the
first
Champions
season
League,
in
and they got potential to be in a quarter final.
Yeah,
So, what do you think the other predictions are for your other schools? Because
Fulham.
personally, I don't think Napoli will win. I can't see you. I can't see your team beating
I don't
Barcelona.
think they'll win the game, but they'll go through because I think it'll be a draw.
Well, if it's 1-1, then it will go down
Extra
to
time.
extra time.
I
So,
do-
what do you think?
I
Like
think it'll be a
pens?
2-2.
2-2.
I don't think Napoli are not scoring. Yeah, they are going to score.
But Nou Camp, Barcelona are very like they are unbeatable pretty much at their
They're
stadium.
good,
They've
but-
only ever lost one Champions League game in the last decade. There,
Napoli
you know.
don't need to win. And with Barca, they are very, very poor.
I know, but at home they're very good. In Champions League, they are very good.
They are, but
Because the only game in the past decade they've lost in Champions League was when Bayern Munich won the Champions League in 2013.
yeah,
They've never lost other than that. And when it comes to Champions League, they do like
Napoli
obviously
aren't favourites,
they're not.
not at all. But that's where the underdog comes in.
Mentality, yeah, it's that underdog mentality.
Because Napoli haven't had a good season. Because you just came in.
So
did
who do you
well.
think are favourites to win the whole thing? Because
do-
me personally,
I
I think
think-
it's Man City's to lose.
It is Man City's to lose, but I think
Because they've already got a 2-goal advantage against Real Madrid. And then the winner of that would either face Napoli or Barcelona. Man City
Napoli,
this season.
like Napoli and Barca, whoever wins that is going to face Chelsea or Bayern.
Oh, so is it Juventus or Lyon going to
Juventus
face
and
Man
Lyon,
City?
Yeah. And I think Juventus are beatable and Lyon.
Juventus are, but in the Champions League, yeah, Ronaldo, he does turn up massively.
He
It would
does.
be good to see
And
Ronaldo and his like face Real Madrid.
yeah.
That would be pretty
be
awesome to
very
see.
good,
I
yeah.
can't lie, but I do believe it is Manchester City's to lose. I'd hate it if they won it though.
It would just shadow over.
Oh, but it would, like, honestly, like the fact that we've got every single trophy that we could possibly win. If they win this, that's them done as well.
Yeah.
So we can't. So I hope and pray Real
I do
Madrid.
really think-
I hope Benzema just like becomes
Benzema could.
becomes a clutch player that he is.
Because Real Madrid have been in good form, so I reckon...
They have, yeah.
you never know what
I
could
don't
happen.
think they've lost the game.
Have it.
Yeah, and if Sergio Ramos is gonna go the way he's going, because he's arguably been one of the best defenders in the world this season.
He's probably the best.
Goal
the best
scoring,
player. He
like-
broke a record as well, isn't he?
he has. Yeah,
Most
he's a
goals
high
for the-
scoring defender
Yeah.
in history, isn't he now?
Something like that.
I think so, or easily
maybe
in
La
the Liga.
Liga, yeah, maybe La
Easily
Liga.
in the Liga, and this season apparently he's got more goals than Griezmann.
Griezmann's been poor.
And Griezmann.
All the boss has been poor. That's why I do think
It's
Napoli
only
will get
Messi.
results.
It's only Messi that's been good.
it's a one-man team.
I think Messi's got like 25 goals or 23 goals with 19 assists.
Though he's literally carrying the whole team.
Literally, yeah, like that's over 40.
But Suarez has been injured.
He has.
And a lot of the other key players have been
Exactly.
injured.
And
Vidal is suspended for that game against Napoli as well.
has Arthur gone as well? Has Arthur gone
not sure
to
about that.
Juventus?
I think they're still playing in the Champions League though.
But are they allowed to play? Oh yeah,
think
because
they
both
are.
teams are in there,
Yeah.
so they're
I
okay.
think they're allowed to play.
We've got another question here as well, actually, and it's still about like Champions League technically.
Okay.
Which treble-winning side do we think is the best?
Okay.
So the treble-winning sides, is this like the teams that have won the Prem? For example, like they've won the league, the domestic cup, and the Champions League.
I'm assuming so. Yeah.
There's only 5 clubs that have done that. So Man United were the first to do it.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Champions League era, not the European Cup era. We're talking about Champions League era. So we got Man United in
Barca.
We got Man United 98, 99.
Yeah.
Barcelona 08, 09.
Into the next
Inter
season.
2010.
Yeah.
Bayern 2013, and then Barca again 2015.
Yeah. Only
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. Not many.
So which one do you think is the best?
I do think
man.
it's Inter's.
Inter Milan.
Yeah.
That
You can say it's biased, but go on. You say yours.
okay. Regarding Inter Milan, yeah, like if you were to ask a normal, like just your everyday football fan here, they wouldn't even think about Inter Milan.
They wouldn't.
So why would you say Inter Milan?
I do think it's their squad. If you look at that squad with Lucio, Samuel, Maicon, Schneider, even Cambiasso, that's not a treble-winning team. You don't look at that team and say, this team wanted Sully Montari on the bench. He never played for a top team. So, these type of players, you don't really think Pandev.
Is Diego Milito was the
Diego
striker,
Milito
wasn't he?
was
And he wasn't
striker,
really known before
He wasn't
that.
known before that.
He wasn't.
So, it's a very impressive treble. As in, look at the team and look what they did with the budget they had. And Mourinho lost some big players. Zlatan, who probably was Inter's best player the season before, won him the league. He's gone. They got Eto'o in, probably was a better deal for Inter. Adriano left. Milito had to come in. I think who else did they lose? They lost a few of the midfielders as well. And they had to play Cambiasso, who wasn't a starter the season before. They had to play the Chievo, probably won't know him, but they had to play him left back.
I've heard of it.
They had to play him
but I
left
don't know
back.
him.
And Zanetti had to play CDM, which wasn't his main position. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a right back, isn't
He's
he?
a right back, well, full back. He played both sides, but they had to play him CDM as well. And I think with the rotation, different tactics for different games.
But
and the actual
like,
squad they had for what they did.
but when it comes to like being a remembered treble-winning side, we're talking about a team that, like, for example, like, Man United's '99 squad. They're considered as obviously one of the best sides in. They probably are England's best ever team. Yeah, like the best ever team to ever play English football is probably Man United's treble-winning side. Why? Because they're the only team still to this day to ever win a treble, and it's been 20 years. Yeah, it's been over 20 years since they did it, and I think it's because the way they did it, the teams they beat on the way there. I remember the semi-finals they played against Juventus, and I'm pretty sure in the first leg, I'm pretty sure they were 2-0 down or something, and then they brought it back. Second leg, beat them 3-2, and in the final, Roy Keane didn't play, Paul Scholes didn't play, and they were obviously two key midfielders, especially Roy Keane. He was a skipper, he was the captain of the team. Yeah. So he was their main midfielder. He was the one that was like, you know what, like he was the leader of the team. And they faced Bayern. And yeah, people will go on about, you know what, they got outplayed, but they still won the game.
They got 2 goals at the end.
Exactly, they got 2. Yeah. It's argued, like it is regarded as one of the best finals in the history of Champions League, with Barcelona's 08-09 squad, which is, to a lot of football fans, to a lot of global football fans, is widely regarded as the greatest team in history. Because they won 6 trophies from 2008 to 2009. Yeah. They won 6 trophies, which no team has ever done. And they invented a style of football in tiki-taka. Yeah. With the players they had. With your Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets. Them 4 especially that kind of were the masters of that passing game.
came from the academy. All
Exactly. All of them became. All of them were academy graduates. The majority of the team was academy. Like Puyol was an academy player. Victor Valdez was an academy player. Montoya was an academy player.
I don't know anymore.
Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, Messi were all academy players. That's 8 players
Pedro.
right there. Pedro was on the bench. He was an academy player. That's 8 players right there. Yeah, like even the players on the bench, like Pinto, the goalkeeper, he was an academy player. So I feel like what they did, their way of winning was very natural to a lot of football fans, because theirs was like, you know what, they didn't bring in like spend 100 million on players or 50 million. I think they bought in Thierry Henry.
That's
when when he was 15 mil. He cost them 15 million.
And I think they had Eto'o from before anyway.
Yeah, and they had Eto'o from about a good 2 years before that anyway, when he played in the 2006 final against Arsenal. So he was there for time. So their way of winning was very natural. Homegrown talent, unbelievable style of football, dominated teams possession-wise, scoreline-wise. They beat a very good Man United team under Sir Alex Ferguson 2-0 at the final at Wembley. Yeah, so
David Villa, forgot about him.
that was after though, wasn't it? Wasn't that 2010-11? Or was that 8-9?
Actually, might have been.
Yeah, because he was in the next final when they faced Man United again. And they beat Man United again. Right. I think the first final was played in Rome. And the second final was played in Wembley.
Okay. Right.
I think. And I don't actually know when the second final was, but I know that it was Ronaldo's last season. I think he played a season after and then he left Man United. Obviously, the next treble-winning side was, in my opinion, the best one, which was Bayern Munich's. Because of the way they dominated teams. Like, they beat Bayern Munich 7-0 on... they beat Barcelona 7-0 on aggregate. They won their league 25 points clear of Borussia Dortmund, who at the time were under Jurgen Klopp, who had Lewandowski, Gundogan,
Royce,
Blaszczykowski, Marco Reus, Mario Götze, Hummels, Socrates. Weidenfeller was one of the best keepers in the world at the time. They had a very, very good squad, Dortmund did, but they were still 25 points clear, and they scored over 120 goals.
In the league?
In all competition, they scored 120 goals, over 125 goals in all competition, and they destroyed teams. Like, every time they faced them, like I think the only close game they had was the Champions League final, but they won that 3-1 anyway, didn't they?
It was 2-1.
2-1. Robin scored in the last minute. And then obviously the final, the last team to win the treble was 2014-15 Barcelona, when they had Neymar, Suarez and Messi. And obviously that team, like that front three, kind of carried the whole squad. When it came down to it, because ever since then we've seen that ever since one of them left, only one of them's gone, and they haven't been the same. So it just showed that the chemistry them three had was that good that they brought in 3 trophies in one season. But you think it's Inter?
I do think it's Inter, yeah.
I personally would say it's either Bayern Munich 2013 or Barca 08-09, only because Barca's way was so natural. They had homegrown talent. They brought players up from the academy from a young age. They built them. Then when Guardiola came, he changed all of them players under Guardiola, regardless of what people call Guardiola. His man management for that team was unbelievable. We're talking about Lionel Messi, who scored 91 goals under Guardiola in one calendar. Still to this day, nobody's even come close to that. I think the closest somebody's even come is Ronaldo when he hit 60.
That's 30 goals off.
Exactly. And Messi hit 91. Xavi and Iniesta, the way they used to pass around players.
Probably the best midfield.
Easily the best midfield duo in history. To me, Iniesta's the best midfielder I've ever seen play. That's just it. Honestly, the way they were playing football, nobody was bored of watching Barcelona back then. Nobody. Even if you hated Barcelona, they were a joy to watch. Yes, people could talk about the controversy in the Chelsea game, which I agree with you was massively controversial.
Chelsea probably gone through,
100%. But you know what? That doesn't shy away from the fact that Barca changed. They created a style of play with my Bayern team that I choose. It's just the dominance that they had. Every player in their team was able to score a goal. I remember against Barcelona. I think in the first minute, David Alaba scored. He ran through.
Who's this?
This was against Barcelona.
In the semi-final?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When they beat them 7-0 on aggregate, they beat them 3-0 at Nou Camp, 4-0 at Allianz. It was, that's what I mean.
You'd never think that.
You'd never think that Barcelona would ever lose 7-0 on aggregate to any team.
Yeah.
That's the only, that is the only team they've lost to at Nou Camp in the last 10 years. The
3-0
only
as well.
team, 3-0 as well. Barca couldn't get a sniff that game. And if you actually look at Bayern Munich's squad, it wasn't as good as what people think. They had Robin and Ribéry, yes. They had Lahm and Schweinsteiger, yes. But they had Mario Gomez up front. They had Daniel Van Boyten at centre back.
With Dante.
Exactly, with Dante and Boateng. Yeah, Boateng was world class. We know that.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah, he was the best defender in the world at that time. Lahm was obviously the best right back in the world. Alaba was the best left back. But their midfield wasn't all that yet. Besides Schweinsteiger,
Did they have Cruz? Or Cruz went
Tony
back
Cruz was there actually, yes. He was 24 at the time, so he was still very young. Even though he was a top level, he was still very young. I see your argument with Inter Milan, considering they were a team that should never have even been in...
They won the league the season before, but Adriano left, Ibra went. They had to bring, like, Eto'o. Even though it doesn't matter how big the player is, you got to adapt to the system.
Yeah, of course.
And then, he still did wonders with them.
He did, yeah.
With
He
their
still,
players,
yeah.
like, if you look at that 11, they're not getting to any other treble winning team.
They're not.
Maybe Eto'o at a stretch.
Eto'o probably...
At a stretch.
And probably Zanetti as well, because he was obviously, because of his longevity.
But other than that, I don't
Other
think...
than that, yeah, nobody else would get in.
And look what he's done. Like,
And the fact that, but it's just,
they
I think...
beat that 08-09 Barca team. 3-1 at home.
They did.
They didn't lose 1-0 away.
Was that to get to the final?
That was in the semi-final, yeah. They beat them 3. Barca scored first as well. And think of a top Barca team leading 1-0 at your own ground.
It's true.
And to score 3
I
goals.
do feel like they are very underrated in that sense. Like, they aren't looked at as highly
they're not.
as your Man United's, Barca's and Bayern's. Yeah, like the 3 teams that are considered to be the best to ever win
I
it.
think because they swept teams away. But with the Inter team, they're calm.
They
calculated.
they were very not athletic. They weren't very pleasing to watch.
Yeah.
Because they were such a possession team. When they'd score, they'd sit back.
Yeah.
And then they'd have Milito up there just to finish off.
Yeah.
Everything, because he was very clinical that season.
He
He scored every game.
He scored a goal to win every single
He did.
trophy.
He did.
He
Yeah,
scored the
he
last
did.
goal.
Which was so. Yours is Inter Milan.
yeah.
I'm probably out of the 2. I will probably go for Bayern Munich, because for me, it's just the way they destroyed teams that they faced. 25 points clear. They won the domestic cup 4-1, I think, and then they destroyed teams in the Champions League. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. So I gotta say, to be fair, every single team that's won it is pretty decent.
They're very good, yeah.
But we'll come to the end of the show, and hopefully, you come and join us next week when we have the same person on.
Yeah.
So goodbye.